The most dangerous moment in your financial life is not when you are broke. It is when you look successful. Because broke forces you to change. Looking successful lets you stay exactly where you are, spending everything, owning nothing, and feel proud about it. By the end of this teaching, you will be able to see the exact mechanism that turns visible success into financial imprisonment, and you will know how to break it. A prayer for freedom from that trap awaits you at the close. The great deception of wealth is this: most people are not trying to build it, they are trying to perform it. Think about the last time you saw someone driving a car that cost more than most people earn in a year. You assumed they were wealthy. Maybe they were, but the evidence suggests that in many cases, you were watching someone make monthly payments on the idea of wealth, not on wealth itself. The car is the signal is not the thing. Here is the diagnosis, and it is brutal. The system you were born into does not reward the accumulation of real assets. It rewards the display of them. It rewards the appearance. It teaches you, from the moment you are old enough to notice what other people own, that success looks a certain way. It has a certain address. It drives a certain vehicle. It wears a certain watch. It takes certain vacations. And so you absorb that picture. You internalize it. And without ever sitting down and making a conscious decision, you begin spending your financial life trying to match it. And so you work. You earn. And when you earn more, what do? You signal more. You upgrade the apartment. You upgrade the car. You eat at better restaurants. You dress differently. The income goes up. The spending goes up. And your net worth, the only number that actually measures whether you are building something, stays almost exactly where it was. Sometimes it moves backward, and the trap is self-sealing. Because the people around you are doing the same thing. When everyone in your environment is upgrading their lifestyle, as their income rises, the upgrade looks normal. It looks responsible. It looks like what adults do. No one in your immediate world is showing you the net worth number. They are showing you the house, the car, the vacation, and you are showing them the same. The performance reinforces itself. The audience and the performer are the same people, watching each other, and concluding that this is simply how wealth works. This is not financial growth. This is financial theater. The world tells you that upgrading your lifestyle when your income rises is the natural reward for your effort. The world is giving you a roadmap to a destination that looks exactly like success and ends in complete dependency on a paycheck you cannot afford to lose. King Midas asked for the golden touch and received it, and for a brief moment, he stood in his palace, watching everything he touched transform into gleaming gold. He thought he had won. He thought this was the arrival. This is not what winning looks like. This is what the trap looks like, right before it closes around you. Ovid recorded this story in the Metamorphoses, written at the turn of the first millennium, Book XI. And notice that Ovid did not write about Midas's poverty. He did not write about a man who had nothing. He wrote about a king who already had more than most human beings in the ancient world could dream of, and who asked for more, a wish granted without condition, without limit, without a single caveat from the god who granted it. Dionysus, the god of abundance and intoxication, offered Midas anything he desired as a reward for returning Silenus, Dionysus's companion, safely to him. Midas chose the golden touch, and Ovid writes that when the wish first worked, when Midas touched a branch and it became gold, when he lifted a stone and it hardened into metal, when the soil of his garden gleamed under his footsteps, he was flooded with joy. He returned to his palace, convinced he was the wealthiest man who had ever lived. Everything around him gleamed. Every surface reflected abundance. His wealth was visible, overwhelming, total. By every external measure, he was the image of supreme success. He sat down to eat. The bread he lifted turned to gold in his hands. The wine he raised to his lips hardened before it reached him. He had all the signals of wealth and none of the substance of life. Notice the structure of Ovid's telling. The celebration comes first. The destruction comes second. And between them, there is no dramatic villain, no sudden disaster, no external enemy. There is only the wish itself operating exactly as designed, producing exactly what he asked for, becoming the prison. Midas did not fail because something went wrong. He failed because everything went exactly right. Now, move from myth to documented history. Herodotus, in the Histories Book 1, records the story of Croesus, king of Lydia, the ruler whom ancient historians regarded as the wealthiest monarch of his era. Lydia occupied a strategic position at the intersection of the eastern and western worlds. The river Pactolus, which ran through the Lydian capital of Sardis, carried gold, alluvium, natural gold deposits embedded in its sands, documented by both Herodotus and Strabo as a genuine historical source of extraordinary wealth. Croesus extracted that wealth systematically. He built it into an empire visible across the ancient world. And then Solon of Athens came to visit. Solon was one of the 7 sages of Greece, a lawgiver, a poet, a man who had restructured the debt laws of Athens so that citizens working the land were not enslaved by the obligations they had inherited. Croesus showed Solon his treasury. He showed him his gold, his armies, the scale of what he had built. He asked Solon directly, "Who is the happiest man you have ever seen?" He expected his own name. Solon named 2 Athenian citizens of modest means who had lived with integrity, served their communities, and died with dignity surrounded by people who loved them. Croesus was insulted. Solon's answer, recorded by Herodotus in Book 1, Chapter 32, was this: "Call no man happy until he is dead." Croesus laughed and dismissed him. Solon, he decided, was a fool who did not understand real wealth. What Solon actually understood was something that no amount of gold could purchase: the difference between a position and a condition. Croesus had a position king, wealthy, powerful, respected across the ancient world. But a position is granted by circumstances. A condition is built from within. Solon's 2 Athenian citizens had built a condition. Their lives did not depend on Persia remaining at bay, on armies remaining loyal, on gold remaining in the treasury. Their happiness was structural, not circumstantial. Croesus's happiness was entirely circumstantial. That was what Solon saw when he looked at all that gold and felt nothing like envy. Years later, Cyrus of Persia defeated Croesus, captured the city of Sardis, and had the king bound for execution. In that moment, Herodotus records, Croesus cried out Solon's name 3 times, and when Cyrus heard what Croesus was saying, he asked what it meant. Croesus told him the story, and Cyrus, moved by the wisdom of it, spared his life. His wealth had looked exactly like security, until it was gone overnight. The trap is not poverty. The trap is wealth that cannot survive contact with a changed world. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your city or country in the comments. I want to see how far this ancient wisdom is traveling across the world. Here is where most people fail entirely. They have learned to measure their financial position by their income, not their net worth. These are not the same thing. They are not even close to the same thing. Income is what flows through you. Net worth is what stays. And the great professional class of the modern world, doctors, lawyers, engineers, senior managers, earns extraordinary income and accumulates ordinary wealth because every dollar that flows in is immediately redirected toward maintaining the appearance of the income level itself, the house that the income justifies, the car that the role demands, the vacations that the salary unlocks, the wardrobe that the position requires. You earn at the level of success. You spend at the level of success. You stay at 0. Benjamin Graham spent decades studying this mechanism before most financial theorists had named it. His central principle, the margin of safety, was not only about stock selection, it was about the gap between what something is worth and what you pay for it. Graham understood that the greatest risk in any financial decision is the moment you confuse the price of something for its value. A stock trading at an elevated price is not necessarily valuable. A lifestyle that looks expensive is not necessarily an asset. In fact, it is almost always a liability wearing the costume of an asset. The investor's chief problem, Graham wrote in The Intelligent Investor, and even his worst enemy, is likely to be himself, not the market, not the economic cycle, not bad luck or bad timing. Himself, the part of him that reacts to signals rather than thinking about substance. The part that sees success and wants to look like it rather than actually build it. Notice the word enemy. Graham did not say obstacle. He did not say challenge or difficulty. He chose the word enemy deliberately because the force working against you is not neutral. It is active. It anticipates your reactions. It exploits the gap between how things look and what things are. And it wins every time you respond to a signal without questioning what is behind it. Stop and ask yourself something honest. If your income stopped tomorrow, not reduced, stopped, how long could you sustain your current life without selling anything and without borrowing anything? 3 months? 6? If your answer is less than 6 months, you have been funding the performance of wealth rather than the construction of it. That is not a character failure. It is a systems problem, and you can dismantle a system once you can see how it works. The income statement and the net worth statement are two different documents. Most people only ever look at one of them. Entire careers are built, entire identities constructed, entire social positions maintained, and the net worth statement is never opened. Because the income statement feels good, and the net worth statement requires honesty, here is where the trap becomes invisible. Because it does not feel like a trap, it feels like progress. You get a raise. You feel the satisfaction of being recognized. That satisfaction is real and it is earned. But embedded in that satisfaction is a silent assumption that the upgrade is now justified, that the new apartment is the natural next step, that the better car is the reward your effort deserves. And this assumption is so deeply woven into how the world around you functions that questioning it can feel almost like ingratitude, like refusing to accept what you have earned. This is not ingratitude. This is arithmetic. If your income rises by 20%, and your spending rises by 20%, your net worth position has not changed. The velocity of the money has increased. The destination has not. You are moving faster inside the same cage. And the faster you move, the more real the motion feels. Charlie Munger called inversion the most underused tool in practical thinking. Invert. Always invert, he said, meaning that before you analyze why something is a good idea, analyze what would have to be true for it to be a terrible one. Apply that inversion here. What would have to be true for increasing your lifestyle every time your income increases to be a serious mistake? It would have to be true that the spending produces no lasting asset. It would have to be true that the signals you are purchasing, the apartment, the car, the image, depreciate or disappear while your income remains uncertain. It would have to be true that the real measurement of your financial health is not how much you earn, but how much of what you earn you actually keep and grow. All of those things are true. You already know the answer. You just have not applied the inversion yet. Here is the deeper principle Midas discovered the hard way. He did not lose his wealth in battle. He did not lose it to thieves, or disasters, or the failures of other people. He lost it to the mechanism of his own wish, operating exactly as designed, producing exactly what he asked for, and making it impossible for him to live. The velocity of his golden touch was total. Everything, instantly, transformed. The trap was not slow and gradual. The trap was the speed itself, the completeness of it. The wealth trap that looks like success works on the same mechanism. Income rises. Spending matches it immediately, automatically, without a single deliberate decision. Because the system around you, social expectation, marketing, the visible behavior of your peer group, makes the upgrade feel not just natural but obligatory. You do not decide to upgrade. You upgrade before you realize you were choosing. Every upgrade is a choice. Most people make the choice before they recognize it as one. Consider what this means in practical terms. There is a ceiling inside the wealth trap that is invisible because it has been constructed to look like a floor. The person trapped in the performance of wealth has built a life that requires a specific income level simply to function. Every month, the cost of being who they appear to be demands a minimum. The mortgage on the property that signals success, the payments on the vehicle, the subscriptions, the memberships, the dining patterns, the wardrobe maintenance, the private school fees, the neighborhood expectations. All of it adds up to a floor below which they cannot drop, not without dismantling the identity they have spent years assembling piece by piece. And that floor is also a ceiling. Because every dollar that goes toward maintaining the floor cannot go toward building anything above it. The money is fully allocated. There is no slack. There is no room for the kind of patient accumulation that produces real wealth. John Bogle built Vanguard on a principle so straightforward that the financial industry spent decades trying to discredit it, because it threatened their revenue model, that the most reliable path to genuine wealth accumulation is not spectacular returns on high-risk instruments. It is consistent, low-cost accumulation of real assets over time, without leverage, without theatrical complexity. Bogle's investor does not look rich at the dinner party. Bogle's investor becomes rich over time. The distinction between those two outcomes is the entire teaching of this channel. Here is what most people miss entirely. Wealth is not a display. Wealth is a capability. Specifically, it is the capability to act, to move, to choose, to wait when others cannot. Can you act today? If your answer requires selling something first, if it requires borrowing against what you have, if it requires a specific paycheck to arrive before you can move in any direction, then you are not free. You are liquid enough to look successful. That is a fundamentally different condition. Midas could not eat. He had gold covering every surface of his palace and no capacity to nourish himself. His capability had been eliminated by the very mechanism of his abundance. The ceiling he hit was not poverty. It was the total cost of the wish he had made. The wish had worked perfectly. That was the problem. Stop and ask yourself something honest about your own situation. What do you actually own? Not what you possess. Not what you drive or wear or live in. What do you own free, without a monthly obligation attached to it, without a payment schedule defining your relationship to it? Croesus owned Lydia, or so he believed. He owned the treasury. He owned the army. He controlled the gold of the Pactolus. And then Cyrus arrived, and all of it changed hands. What Croesus discovered too late, already in chains, was that his relationship to his wealth was conditional. It existed as long as certain external conditions held. When those conditions changed, the wealth changed with them. Solon understood this. That is why he named the Athenian citizens who had died well, rather than the king who had accumulated the most. Their happiness, their true financial and personal security, could not be invalidated by a change in conditions. They had built their lives on something that did not depend on everything remaining favorable. This is the Croesus inversion, and it applies directly to where you are right now. The question is not how much you have when conditions are good. The question is how much you keep when conditions change. Because conditions always change. Markets shift. Industries transform. Jobs disappear. Health fails. The person who built real wealth, actual assets producing actual returns, survives the change intact. The person who built the performance of wealth discovers that the performance required conditions that no longer exist. The 4 most dangerous words in investing, Sir John Templeton said, are, "This time it's different. The conditions that make your current income possible, the conditions that make your current lifestyle sustainable, they are not permanent." They never were. Every financial decision you make should be tested against a single question. What happens to this when something changes? If the honest answer is that it collapses, that you lose it, that you have to sell it, that it stops working, then you are standing on a floor that is also a ceiling, inside a trap that still looks exactly like success. If this teaching is shifting something in your understanding, if you can see now that there is a different way to build, tap the like button right now. It helps this message reach the people who need it most. And if you want more of the wisdom the Midas Code contains, subscribe to this channel. There is much more coming. Practical application begins with honesty about a single number. Not your income, your net worth. Step 1. Run the net worth audit this week. Take a piece of paper or open a document and write 2 columns. On the left, every asset you own that carries real value: savings accounts, investment accounts, retirement funds, any property equity after subtracting what you owe on it, any liquid asset that could be converted to cash within a reasonable time frame. On the right, every obligation: mortgage balance, car loans, student debt, credit card balances, personal loans, any financial claim against you. Subtract the right column from the left. Whatever that number is, that is your real financial position. Not your salary, not your job title, not the address on your lease. That number. Many people who run this audit for the first time are surprised, often painfully so. Run it anyway. You cannot navigate toward a destination if you do not know where you are standing right now. Step 2. Implement the lifestyle freeze. Decide right now, before the next raise or bonus arrives, that the first action you take when your income increases will not be to upgrade your lifestyle. The first action will be to direct a defined percentage of the increase toward a real asset savings, investment, debt reduction, something that builds your net worth rather than your image. Decide the percentage now, while you can think clearly, before the new money arrives and the social pressure to spend it begins. 50% is a reasonable starting point. The other half can do what it wants, but the first half goes toward building something that will still be there in 10 years. This decision, made once in advance and written down, removes the automatic upgrade mechanism entirely. It replaces a reflex with a choice. Step 3. Take the liquidity test this week. Calculate exactly how many months your life can function if your income stops tomorrow without selling any asset and without taking on any new debt. If the answer is fewer than 6 months, your immediate financial priority is not investment strategy. It is building that reserve. Graham called the margin of safety the foundation of intelligent investing. Without a liquidity buffer between your life and a sudden change in circumstances, every other financial decision you make is fragile. Build the margin first. Step 4. Apply the Munger inversion to your 3 largest monthly expenses. For each one, write down, what would have to be true for this expense to be actively working against my financial position? Not whether it feels earned, not whether you enjoy it. What would have to be true for it to be a mistake? Answer that honestly. The answer will tell you more than any financial advisor's fee schedule. Step 5. Ask the Solon question, once each month. At the end of every month, look at your full financial picture and ask, if conditions change significantly right now, job loss, market correction, unexpected expense, health crisis, what would remain? What is actually mine, without conditions, without a paycheck arriving to sustain it? Whatever that number is, that is your real wealth. Make growing it the deliberate priority, not the accidental byproduct of whatever is left after the performance costs are covered. This is not complicated. This is ancient wisdom rewritten in the language your situation requires. Midas had everything he wished for. Croesus had more gold than any king before him. Both were broke in the ways that mattered. One could not eat. One could not survive contact with a world that had changed. You do not have to repeat their sequence. The warning was recorded centuries ago, and it is still here, still exact, still describing the trap that most people will walk into without ever realizing it was a trap at all. If this channel is showing you something real, something framed in a way you have not encountered before, I want you to subscribe right now. Not because of an algorithm, because what comes next will go even deeper into the financial principles encoded in the ancient code. We have not yet examined what Aristotle wrote in Politics, Book 1, about the man who pursues wealth without limit, and what that pursuit does to his character over time. We have not looked at how the trading networks of ancient Lydia built lasting commercial infrastructure, while their contemporaries built spectacle that did not survive a single generation. We have not examined what the oldest stories about gold actually reveal about leverage, patience, and the construction of something that outlasts its builder. Subscribe now, and you will be notified every time a new lesson is released. Hit the subscribe button below. There is no cost. There is no catch. There is only more of this, and it goes deeper with every teaching. Before we close, I want to invite you into something different. This prayer is not a formality. It is an alignment. Close your eyes if you can, or simply align your thoughts with mine right now. What comes next is not just words. It is an invitation. Father, we come before you with honesty about where we have been. We confess that we have spent time, energy, and money performing wealth instead of building it. We have chased the signal, the visible, the impressive, the external marker, while the substance remained unmoved beneath the surface. We have upgraded the appearance of our lives and called it progress. We have looked successful and drawn real comfort from that look, even when the numbers behind it told a different story entirely. We confess that we have measured ourselves by what others could see, rather than by what we were actually constructing in silence. We ask today for a new kind of vision, not the vision that sees what the world around us sees: the car, the address, the wardrobe, the title, the vacation photograph, the vision that sees what actually is, the net worth, the real position, the gap between what we own and what we owe. Give us the courage to look at that number without flinching, and the wisdom to let it direct our next steps without shame and without delay. We declare that we are not prisoners of the performance. We are not defined by what we display. We are builders. We are stewards of what we have been given, and we choose today to steward it toward something lasting and real, not toward something visible and temporary. We declare that the next income increase we receive will not disappear automatically into the maintenance of an image. It will go first toward something that grows. We ask for freedom from the velocity trap, from the unconscious habit of matching every income increase with an equal spending increase before a single deliberate thought is applied. Give us the discipline to pause between earning and spending, to choose, to let the first portion of every increase go toward building, before lifestyle has the chance to consume it entirely. We ask for the wisdom of Solon, not the pride of Croesus, not the wish of Midas. The clarity to ask, in every financial decision, what survives contact with a changed world? What is actually ours? And we ask that the people who need this teaching most, the ones deep inside this trap right now, convinced they are succeeding, satisfied with the signal, find their way to this word before it is too late for them to act. In the name of Jesus Christ, Amen. Go in peace. What you build in silence will outlast everything you displayed in noise. You are free.